What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money with Breanna Cologne show. Thanks for joining me today. We are broadcasting live from the beautiful New Orleans, or AKA New Orleans. And today I have my wonderful guest co-host, my handsome hunk of a husband, Mr. Keith Cologne. Could you tell the people hello?
Hello, everybody.
So anyway, we've got a really great show for you today. This month in general, we've been focused on saving money, and my running theme from last week was don't waste my money in 2020. Don't waste my money in 2020. So we kind of want to keep that thing going. And today we're going to talk about how to save money as a couple. You know, that can be challenging sometimes when you're married and trying to save money when everybody has their own agenda, things that they want to do, take care of, accomplish, all those types of things, you know. And some people always want to buy stuff, you know. And so that being the case, sometimes it can get difficult to save. And so we want to, you know, have some real talk around that today and just talk about things that you can do, practical tips and advice for how you can save more money as a couple. So last week, if you recall, we also talked about your kids and how to keep your kids from wasting your money. Hello, somebody. And that made for interesting discussion. I had my son Alonzo on with us, and he was, you know, of course, chiming in on all the different things that, or different ways that kids can tend to waste our money, whether that's electricity or gas or what have you. You know, those things tend to happen. Certainly, while we're having discussion today, I want to invite you to chime in on Facebook, get in on the chat. I'm actually going to go ahead and share it to the regular Facebook page now. And if you're feeling so inclined, feel free to share with your friends, especially your married friends. Tell them to join us on the chat today. Let's see. Well, I can't get it to share right now to the regular page, but maybe my tech guy can work that out for me. I'm trying to just share it from our live feed to the regular page, but it's not showing up here for me to actually share it.
It's not showing to share.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's keep going, folks. As you can see, it'll be real and all the way live today. So, oh, here we go. There we go. Now we can share. Okay. Let's see. So we'll share this
To a group.
to the regular page. Here we go. A little off script today because we're not in the studio, but here we go. All right. So in almost every relationship, more often than not, people know what to do, you know, but people don't always do what they are supposed to do. Do you agree? You know, we become creatures of habit, whether good or bad, and of course that can either lead to a great financial life or some not so great financial decisions that lead to debt, no savings, and sometimes divorce. And of course, divorce is one of the money is one of the top reasons that people end up getting into divorce. So in almost every relationship, one person tends to be the spender and the other is more conservative or the saver. So, you know, what do you guys think? You know, are you in your couple's relationship with your spouse or your significant other? Do you think you're the saver? Do you think you're the spender? What do you think, honey?
I tend to spend a little bit more than other people would, but I am still a bit frugal. I just am careful with what I'm buying. I have my specific choices of what I do buy, and I'm not buying every day. And I'm not always shopping, but when it's time for me to purchase, then some others disagree with the purchase because they don't understand the reason for the purchase.
They don't understand the reason for the purchase. All right. Right. So you saying that you're frugal, but do you agree though? I say that I'm the saver and my husband is the spender. Now that doesn't mean I don't like to spend money, because I'll acknowledge, sure, I like to spend money just like the next person, but you know, if we had to say which one is the more conservative one of the two of us, it certainly would be me. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, to an extent, I think we both keep each other straight. But we'll find out as we start talking about some more of these topics and get a little deeper into this discussion. So the thing about having a saver and having a spender is that opposites attract for a reason. And so the reason is to create balance. And if you embrace the balance, then you'll find that you'll be into a better relationship. You'll strengthen your relationship, because the areas that you're weak in, your mate tends to be stronger, and the areas that you're stronger in are sometimes areas that your mate is weaker in. So therefore, opposites attract to create balance. But a lot of times people don't embrace the balance. Let's just keep it real, you know, and especially when it comes to money. But I believe that God designed us and created us that way on purpose. And if you embrace the differences, then it's going to be a blessing to your relationship in the long run. So let's go ahead and get a little deeper here. Just talking about us a little bit. Our money has always been together from the very, very beginning. And in fact, when we first got married, I mean, I'll not be the first one to acknowledge it has not been easy. And in fact, before we got married, he married me with having debt. I was in college and had debt because I didn't know any better, and, you know, ran up a bunch of credit cards. And so we almost didn't get married because of my debt. So, but once we did make the decision to get married, we started out from the beginning with having our funds together and having it all in one pot, and we worked together to figure out a debt strategy to be able to get out of debt. And so, you know, over time, those are things that you have to learn, especially as couples, when, you know, there's no real book or instruction manual that comes with marriage for us to be able to figure out, like, okay, how do we do this thing with the money, you know? And sometimes there's trust issues, which that's a whole nother story right there. If you can't trust your mate with money, you know, then therein lies the question, like, did you know these things before you got married? You know, I'm just keeping it real. So when it comes to couples, one of the things that I often teach when I do my financial boot camps and my seminars, I ask the question, are you married but your money is single? Ponder that question. Are you married but your money is single? Now I want to take a second and really just explore this for a second, because maybe you'll find with your relationship that you're in one of these four general categories that I've defined. And the first one is that your money actually got married and everything is together, meaning let's just define together, all in one pot. Now he got an account over here, I got an account over here, and we got this one together, and like all in one type deal. The second would be that you split the bills down the middle and each person pays half. Now I call that the roommate operation. Now I know some of you probably operate like that. I've had clients to come into my office and that's the way that they've been operating, where they're splitting the bills completely in half. And so whatever that half is that adds up to, that's what they both, you know, will contribute, and then one person then pays the bills. Now some people might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, honestly, there's a lot that's wrong with that in terms of if you want to be able to get to a point that you both are financially free and striving for financial freedom together and being able to retire well. There's a lot of things that can be off when bills are split down the middle. First of all, do you both make the same salary? If you don't make the same salary and your salaries are lopsided, then how are you going to split the bills down the middle? How is that okay, you know, to have one person paying $1,000? I mean, both of you paying $1,000, but one person makes $30,000 and the other one makes $80,000. How is that okay? You know? So at some point, one spouse is going to end up struggling to, you know, be able to pay their half, or they're not going to be able to save because they have too much of their money coming out of their salary. So like I said, I consider that to be the roommate operation. So glad we're not roommates today, really. I'm glad not to be a roommate. Number 3, you may have a joint account where you only put a specific amount from your checks and you keep the rest. So I've seen that too, where couples are like, okay, so we both put in a certain amount of money into a joint account, and then they do whatever they want to do with the rest of their money. Now, sometimes that, I'm not saying it can't work, but is it really God's best? Probably not, because most of the time, from what I've seen in working with couples, is that there's still some level of lopsidedness where one person either has savings and the other one has no savings, or one has a lot of debt and the other one doesn't have a lot of debt, or they both have debt. It's like a combination of things going on, and there's still some things that the one doesn't know about the other. So it's almost just the same as the roommate operation, you know. And so the fourth one is where one spouse takes the majority of the bills because they deem that their spouse is not making as much money as they are. So they take the majority of the bills and kind of devalue their spouse who's making less. So an example of that, I see this most commonly where the wife is making more money than the husband. Let's say the wife is making $80,000 a year, the husband's making $30,000 a year. For, you know, and in those situations, I've seen where the wife will say, "Well, no, I pay most of the bills, and he just pays the utilities because he don't really make much money." Okay, it doesn't matter how much he makes because what he is making is still a big contribution that can help pay off stuff. So what ends up happening is I've seen where the one who's making the most money and paying the majority of the bills is the one that's struggling. But the one that has a little bit of money is the one chilling because they didn't have to pay much. You know, now I've seen it the opposite as well, where the husband is making more money and maybe the wife is making $30,000 or $40,000, making the lower amount, and because the husband feels his salary is way up here, oh, I take care of the bills, I just let her do whatever, and she's over here just blowing through money, shopping, spending, and all of that, but the husband's over here struggling. Now, so how is that right? You know, there's still a major imbalance going on, and at what point in time do you fix it? You know, it's going to be an ongoing issue. And so more often than not, by bringing your money together, then of course you're able to achieve more. So here's some questions for you to think about when you think about how you currently handle your finances with your spouse or with your significant other. Things to think about. Do you know your spouse's salary? You know, I've met with couples that they don't know for sure what their spouse makes. I don't know. I don't know what their salary is. I know my husband's salary, but he calls me his accountant, so he expects me to know his salary.
I know my wife's salary.
So the other questions for you to think about. Do you know what debts they have? You know, sometimes couples are so split apart financially, they don't even know if their spouse has debt, how much debt. They don't know if they're on the brink of bankruptcy, if they got judgments going on. They don't know any of that stuff. You know, how is that okay, but y'all are married? What is that? You know, do you know their credit score? Hello, somebody. Do you know their credit score? Do you know what's on their credit report? You know, why is that a secret? Why is that a hush-hush between a husband and a wife? Yet, I'm telling you, it's real life. It happens. I see it all the time. Do you know their take-home pay? If you don't know your spouse's take-home pay, there is a problem. A problem. Why is that a secret? You know, that's something you're supposed to be able to talk about as a couple. So that, you know, these are things for you to really seriously consider. You know, do you know your spouse's take-home pay? Do you know if they're contributing to a retirement account? And if they are, do you know how much they're contributing? Why does that matter? Aren't y'all going to retire and live happily ever after? Well, don't you want to be able to retire? You know, or are you going to retire and live off one person's check? You know, but these are things that I commonly see that they're not aware, or they might know that their spouse is putting into a retirement account because they've talked about it, but they don't know how much. You know, and are you, what you're working on together, is that going to get you where you need to be for retirement? You know, is he putting in enough? Are you putting in enough? Are you going to be able to retire when you want to? You know, both of us are on the same page about we want to retire early. Early is good. We believe in early over here. Early and Florida go together, right? Say it with me. Early in Florida. Early retirement in Florida. All of that. So here's some other questions. How much, let's see, if they aren't saving for, I just talked about that, if they aren't saving for retirement, how that has a direct effect on you because y'all live together. And what is this about how spouses are borrowing money from another spouse? If I'm married to you, why do I have to borrow money from you? You know? So my husband and I have a personal allowance, and we of equal amounts, and it doesn't matter who makes what amount of money, because when your money is one, then it doesn't matter if he's making 100 and I'm making 50, or I'm making 100 and he's making 50. We have 150, and so we come up with a personal allowance, and so he gets his money, I get my money. Now, sometimes he acknowledged that he spends a little bit more than me. You know, he may run out of his money, but I'm not going to be like, well, you can borrow $40. And he'll say, hey, you got some cash? And even though I like to keep my personal allowance, we're still one. So I'm going to give him what he needs because it's still, at the end of the day, it's our money. So should you have to borrow from your spouse? No, you should not. Not if you're saying you're married. That's more of a roommate situation. So these are things that you honestly need to consider as we enter into 2020. Like, how do you want to handle your financial life? Are there some things going on in your relationship that are hindering you from being able to accomplish things better financially because of the way you've been operating? So if you have to borrow money from your spouse, that is a problem, like I said. And let's see, why do you have to borrow anything from your husband and wife if you're supposed to be one? So the Bible tells us that once you're married, the two become one. Now, it's funny to me, every time I have this conversation, that, you know, people have no problem becoming one on everything except when it comes to the money. When you start talking about the money and you start talking about becoming one, it's like, you know, we can become one. We can share the same house. Sometimes we can share the same car. Now, sometimes men don't agree with that, you know. Sometimes people like to have their own car, and that's fine. But, you know, when it comes to the money, people are like choked up. We can't put our money together. Well, why not? The Bible said the two become one, right? So that means one with everything, including the money, honey. So now I know that's difficult for some people, you know, to kind of accept that because, again, there are issues that sometimes prohibit that. Well, my spouse is not that good with money, so I don't really trust him for us to be able to put our money together. Okay, well, at what point are you going to fix it? You know, how long will this problem linger in your marriage? Or is there a point in time that you're going to say, you know what, we need to come together on our finances because I believe we can achieve more if we come together. You know, that is the reality. I met with a couple once several years ago, and they were both doing things separately, and both of them were kind of spending money here and there. And between the two of them, they kept saying, oh, we feel like we never have any money. You know, we feel broke all the time, all this stuff. So when I went through and they didn't have a budget, neither of them had a budget. So when I started going through it with their bills and whatnot, and we did an actual budget, between the two of them, they had $1,500 left over every month. $1,500. But they didn't know it. Why? Because one's over here buying lotto tickets and, you know, spending money on this, that, the other. And, you know, so all of this money is going out the door. But to them, they're like, oh, man, we always broke. We don't ever have any money. But look what they're able to accomplish together. What can you do with an extra $1,500 when you go putting your money together and find out, oh man, look what we can do now? That's huge. It's really, really a big deal. Did you have anything you want to say about that?
I could buy a TV.
You know what?
I could buy video games.
See how he does? See how he does? I thought he was going to say something really profound, you know.
Fellas, it was. They get me.
Yeah, I'm sure you're getting high fives from the men watching right now. Yeah, you know, we can buy a TV. You know, we can go to Best Buy, you know.
Super Bowl and All-Stars is coming up.
Right. So, but you know what I'm saying. You definitely can accomplish more if you put your money together. And kudos to those couples that are watching who do already work your stuff together. Good for you. Now, sometimes, like I said, it's not always easy. Sometimes it can produce arguments. Let's just keep it real, because people butt heads. They don't know how to put it together. They don't want to be checking each other like, oh, you know, he's not going to be telling me what to do with my money. Or the guy might be like, you know, well, I'm going out with the fellas. I don't want her regulating and telling me how to spend my money and everything. You know, but it doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to be able to bring your money together without having argument and be able to share from the same pot of money. So again, if that's something that you've had difficulty with as a couple, you don't have to deal with it alone. That's where you bring in a third party. As a financial advisor, I've helped many couples with successfully navigating and bringing their finances together and creating a workable financial plan. If not me, go to somebody. All I'm saying is you don't have to do it alone. You need to get some help where you need help. If you need help from our office number is 1-800-407-1098. It's 1-800-407-1098, and our receptionist will take good care of you. We help clients all across the United States, so, you know, there's no excuse not to have your financial year get off to a great start. Now, I want to share some information. I'm going to let my husband read a little bit of it. This is a survey I pulled from Money Habitudes that they did with couples in a relationship. Some interesting things that they found out. So, honey, can you read that one for me?
Couples were asked for their best piece of advice to newlyweds about handling their finances. The top 2 suggestions are to save as early as possible for retirement, 57%, and to make all financial decisions together, 41%.
So people would only say that if they based it on experience of what they've had to deal with of, man, I didn't save as early as I wanted to for retirement, and we didn't always make our financial decisions together and that type of thing. So 57% of the people said to newlyweds, look, y'all need to save as early as possible for retirement, and we definitely need to make all financial decisions together. Now, an online survey that they did to 1,010 married adults, 25 and older, with household income over $50,000. Now, this was back in 2014 that they did this survey, but it's still relevant today, okay? It's still relevant today. And so one of the things that they said is 4 out of 5 couples say that they're on the same page as their partner about money. But in truth, there seems to be a large financial perception gap. True that. I cannot say that there are 4 out of 5 couples. I don't agree with that, but I do agree that there's definitely a perception gap. 70% of married couples argue about money ahead of fights about household chores, togetherness, sex, snoring, and what's for dinner. They're saying that money is the top thing that couples argue about. Do you agree?
I think I put the snoring ahead of the money.
See. Why you gotta be talking about me? We weren't even talking about snoring, you know? See how he does? Y'all pray my strength. Y'all pray my strength. Can you stretch your hand this way? Right here. And 60% of husbands and wives say they check their bank accounts more than they have sex. Isn't that interesting? Not in this house. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that particular stat. Uh-oh. Let's see. Sorry, I was trying to get some of your comments here. Oh, I see. See, you got Tommy Brown is right high-fiving you with the TV. He said, "Right on,
That's
on,
right.
brother." Wow. Let's see. So, 64% of couples without children under the age of 18 argue about money, while 80% of couples with children younger than 18 argue about money. Do you agree that the couples that have children under the age of 18, do indeed argue about money? I'm sure that they do. What couples fight about when they argue about money? You want to read those? Don't worry about the numbers.
Spending.
Definitely.
Saving.
Yep.
Deceit.
Mm-hmm.
Exclusion from decisions.
Right. So, how often as a spouse have you not included your husband or wife in the financial decisions, or just made a decision without consulting your spouse? I would say that's something we've definitely gotten a whole lot better in. I mean, we've been married going on 25 years in July. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to us. But, it hadn't been an easy 25 years. Let's just keep it real. We were not always on the same page about money and spending and so forth and so on. But I think we've matured to a place now that, when it comes to a major purchase, or really most purchases, we're having a conversation about it first. If someone's like, hey, would you like to give to such and such? Let me talk to my wife first, or let me talk to my husband and I'll get back to you, and not just making a decision, because it's our money, so therefore we need to have a discussion, and that keeps things strengthened between us. So, and then deceit, well, yeah, that definitely happens. I'll give you an example. Just at Christmas time, right after Christmas, I was at Walmart. And you know how Walmart gets you in trouble? You go in there for 1 or 2 things and you end up with 9 or 10 things. Yeah, that was me that day. They got me. They had Christmas stuff on clearance for 75% off. And so I went in there to get medicine because I wasn't feeling well. And I started seeing all this stuff. Christmas trees, $10, all kinds of craziness. So anyway, 2 hours.
I should have taken care of her.
Yes, he should have gone to the store instead of me. But anyway, he was sleeping. It was okay. So I went to the store and I'm getting all this stuff, and there was a guy that came down the aisle and he saw that I had like this whole cart. My cart was full, by the way. Cart was full. And so the guy said, he said, "Oh, you're going to have to sneak that in the house?" And I was like, "No." I said, "I actually got permission." So, but what he was saying is such a common thing that people are getting in trouble when they're shopping, and they don't want their husband to know, or their wife to know, and they're trying to sneak stuff in the house. You know, but it's a liberating thing when you can have a strong enough relationship financially that you don't have to do that. So I had already called them and said, look, they have this and this on sale. You know, how do you feel about this or that? I was taking pictures and sending it to them. You know, do you like this? Do you think we should get this? You know, that's how you start to work together to achieve things. Are we going to always agree? No, for sure.
And she's going to have to set it all up.
With his help, praise the Lord. Amen. Amen. And then he's going to help me set it all up. And the whole family will, for that matter. Or maybe we'll get the kids to do it. I don't know. Might not be us. It'll be the kids. But nevertheless, I think you get my point. And so another thing that they found with the survey, 22% of husbands and wives have spent money they didn't want a partner to know about. And 35% of couples dread getting a lecture. Women's top secret purchases were clothing, shoes, gifts for family and friends. Men's top secret purchases were hobbies and electronics. True. But, you know, we don't have to have any secret purchases. So, ladies, you should not be secretly purchasing behind your husband's back, okay? You should not be doing that. And men, same for you. I know it's more prevalent with the women, but you should definitely not be doing that. All right, now, let's talk about financial decision making, because your spouses might be actually smarter than you give them credit for if you listen to them. You know, I just had a lady in my office recently who said, I was giving her some advice about something, and she said, yeah, my husband he already told me to do that, but I just really didn't listen. And I said, you know, sometimes our husbands are right about stuff. You know, if we would actually listen, you know, it might make us better as a couple. And so how often, you know, are you one of those people, husband or wife, that your spouse is trying to, you know, give you some wisdom, and you know it's right, but you don't really want to hear it in that moment, you know, but then someone else comes along and tell you, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, we ought to do so and so and so, and you know, they're looking at you like, I already told you that we needed to do that. You know, how often does that happen in relationships? It's happened with us before. Yep. For sure, you know. So I want to get into some practical things that you can save money on if you communicate and compromise. Key things, if you communicate and compromise. I mean, communication, that's half the battle right there. If you learn how to master communicating between you and your spouse, that's already going to make a world of difference, whether it's financial or, you know, sexual or, you know, all other aspects of the relationship. The more you can communicate, the better off you're going to be. So before I get into that, though, I want to take a look here at this, at some of your comments. Andre Mine says, I include my wife in every major financial decision. Right on, brother. Good job. That's fantastic. Yvonne says, yes, I must have conversation about major purchases. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the shout out, Marion. Whoop, whoop, 25 years. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So practical things that you can do to save money if you communicate and compromise. Let me start with toothpaste. Now, I know that sounds really funny, like toothpaste. Yes, toothpaste. I used to be the Aquafresh girl. Anybody like Aquafresh? You know, Aquafresh was my toothpaste. You know, I thought Aquafresh and I were going to be in a long-term relationship for life. But my husband was the Crest guy. You know, now I know that seems like something minor, but if you think about that, buying 2 tubes of toothpaste for 2 people that share the same bathroom, how much money could you save if you would just come to an agreement and compromise on 1 tube of toothpaste? Now, unless you got dentures or something special going on that you need a different kind of toothpaste, you know, that's $2 or $3 for a tube of toothpaste. You know, if you're buying it once a month, let's just say, for that second tube times 12 months, that's $36 extra. Now, 36 might not seem a lot, but look at your credit card statement and see how much interest you're paying, and then tell me if $36 matters to you. So that little bit of consolidating toothpaste can put some extra money in your pocket that now you can redirect those funds and apply those to something else, like paying down a credit card bill or paying down a loan or paying down your car loan or something along those lines. How about air condition and heat? Now, my husband tends to be hot all the time, and I'm always cold. So, you know, where is the compromise? Well, for me, I just decided I would, you know, I mean, it's easier to add on clothes, but there's only so many clothes you can take off.
But I told her about that.
What?
And
you told me what?
Not being able to take any more clothes
Oh,
off. When
right.
you're laying there naked and sweating because it's too hot in the room. Then you have to finally come to a compromise.
That's not
Somebody.
what, that's not,
Please.
that's
Help
not
me
what
with
happened.
this.
He's just exaggerating. But realistically, you know, we do compromise, and you know, we'll put the heat on maybe 72 or 3 or whatever we need to have it on. But I'll put on jogging pants. I'll put on a robe, a blanket.
You can always put on more clothes and blankets.
Right, exactly. So that's our compromise, but it keeps the you know, electric bill and the gas bill at a reasonable amount. If I don't have to turn the heat up and burn him up at the same time, just put on more clothes. You know, and again, some of these things that we're going to talk about are like common sense stuff. But it's important stuff that sometimes we don't think about because we get so used to doing things the way we do them, you know. But if we can just trim back a little bit here and there, it's like, man, you know, what a major difference it can make. How about the water bill? You know, I talked about this last week with the kids, how they like to run and leave the shower on while they're using the bathroom. But sometimes it's the husband and the wife that's leaving the water running for 30 minutes, you know, while they're using the bathroom. Now, I will say, I think we both have had our share of doing that in the past. Where we've left water on for extended periods. You know, do you agree?
I agree.
You know, but we've improved in that area, and I think we've kind of helped each other. Like, hey, you know, can you turn the water off and that type of thing. So some things are always going to be a work in progress, but the bottom line is keep working at it, and the more you work at it, the better off you are. Now, here's another one that is a big deal. It's not a big deal for us, but for those that you know, participate in it, it's a big deal. Smoking. You know, I had totally planned to have a cigarette for you today. I was going to sit here and with a play cigarette and, you know, play around with it. But nevertheless, I didn't get a chance to do that. But smoking, you know, obviously affects your health and your wealth. And so for some people, you know, maybe that's not something you deal with. But a lot of people do deal with smoking. And, you know, I looked up the cost of a pack of cigarettes. I got to share this with you because this is important. And even though you might be saying to yourself, oh, I don't have that problem, keep listening. I might be coming to one of your problems. So, so let's see. I have from fairreporters.net, the cost in Maryland average for a pack of cigarettes, which is like 20 in a pack, is $7.75 per pack. And in other states, it's like $5. In other, you know, in some areas, it's, you know, much higher than that, into the $9. In Illinois, it's $11.50 per pack for some cigarettes. Isn't that crazy? You know, and some people are smoking more than one pack a week. So if somebody's smoking 2 packs a week and $20 a week, $80 a month, that's a whole lot of money going down the drain. 80 times 12, that's almost $1,000 that's being wasted on cigarettes, you know. That's a very, very big deal. And so even if you trim back, you know, sometimes it's hard for people to just stop smoking completely. I get that. But maybe if you trim it down slowly or something like that, I think the more that you start looking at where your money is going, then the more you start raising your awareness. Like, do I really need this? I don't really need this shirt. Let me put it back. I don't really need all of these cigarettes. Let me trim it down a bit. So if not smoking, let's come on around the corner to the next thing. To the coffee drinkers of America, the Starbuckers, you know, the people who are totally in love with Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, all of that. How many of you are drinking coffee, or buying coffee to drink on a daily basis? You know, those things add up. Some people in our house that I won't really name used to buy coffee every day from Starbucks. And but they've, you know, improved in that particular area. And so Starbucks, how much was average? Is about $5, right?
On average.
Yeah. So $5 a day on coffee. And I've had clients who...
For one coffee.
Right, for one coffee. And what is that? That's like with all the extra stuff in it. I don't drink coffee, so I, you know, but that's not just your basic coffee. Basic coffee is $2 to $3. But if you're getting chai latte and whatever they're called, yeah, mocha something or other, you know, y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, you're talking about an average of $5 a day. And I've met people who, some people are loading up Starbucks cards where they can just, you know, keep using, they can load $25, $50 and just keep reloading the card. And so at $5 a day times 5 days a week, that's $25 just on coffee. That's not even your entire breakfast sometimes, you know? So at $25 a week, that's $100 a month that some people are giving away to Starbucks. And how much is that a year? $1,200? Yep. $1,200 to Starbucks? What has Starbucks done for you? Are they really that important? You know? So for those of you that have a thing going on and you're married to the coffee life, you really have to ask yourself, do I need to trim that area back a little bit? And where it really matters is if you have more important priorities. Like, do you need to get out of debt? Do you need to save more money for retirement? Do you have some major purchase coming up to where you need to free up some money? Well, that might be an area you need to consider. Like, you know what, I might need to tone it back. And aside from that, I don't think coffee is that great for you, for your body.
It does have benefits to it.
Some every day though.
Either way, Starbucks and all these other companies are just trying to find easier ways for you to give them your money.
Right. Yeah, if you want to put out that kind of money, buy some stock in them. How about that? Buy some stock. Going back to the chat room right here, Yvonne is laughing at my comment on Starbuckers. Yes, that is what I call them, Starbuckers of America. All right, Tommy Brown, I hear you. Watch your mouth with that coffee. Hey, at least you're being honest about it. I understand that there are Starbuckers of America, and we're gonna pray y'all strength. We really are. I understand some people can't even thrive, don't even look in their direction if they haven't had their coffee first thing in the morning. So, all right. So now that we've kind of moved on past the $1,200 a year going to coffee, the next area, groceries. Now, this one is a very, very big deal. I talked to Breanna. I think we've lost connection. Oh, there we are. Okay, we lost connection temporarily. There are families that I've met with who have who spend, if they're 4 and 5 people in their family, and they're spending anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month on groceries. So I do want to talk about that a little bit for a second, because sometimes you have it where the husband is the main cook and he's going to the grocery store most of the time, or sometimes it's the wife, more commonly, where the wife is going to the grocery store. And then I've met couples where it's husband and wife going to the grocery store separately. They're going and buying different things. Well, that does contribute to the problem. If everybody's going to the grocery store, then how are you all communicating? And so sometimes couples aren't communicating, and that alone about the groceries is causing the bill to be higher. So something simple like, hey, honey, I'm going to the grocery store on Saturday. Is there anything in particular that you need other than the normal things that I would buy? I usually take inventory, go around the house and see, are you out of deodorant? Are you out of whatever? But if there's something else extra, that's needed, sometimes it's just that simple communication. Hey, I'm going to the store. Do you need X?
A TV, an Xbox, PlayStation. Oh, groceries.
You know what? I cannot with him today. I cannot. They do not sell TVs at the grocery store. Now, I know they have them at Sam's.
Costco.
Right. We're talking about groceries. That means we're talking about food, okay? We're coordinating meals. That's what we're talking about. Meals, something you eat, not watch. So if we talk about coordinating meals, like taking lunch, now, he's the guy that is like, if you fix a dinner, and you want me to take it for lunch, then I'll take it, sometimes for the next day or so. Now, he's not the leftover guy that's going to eat something 2 or 3 days for lunch and still have it for dinner, but he will take it kind of the next day. So that simple communication of just coordinating the meals. Sometimes people just be like, hey, well, what you feel like tonight? I think I want some chicken. And then they just randomly go to the grocery store, and next thing you know, they're making 3 or 4 trips to the store in a week. Now you're wasting gas and you're wasting extra money when y'all could have just said, all right, this week we're going to have chicken, we're going to have steak, we're going to have chicken fettuccine, we're going to have lasagna, whatever, and plan those meals accordingly. That saves you a lot of money by doing that, and writing a list on top of that. All of those things matter. Even meal prepping, which I'm sure that some of you do. The meal prepping makes a difference. We do it. We don't do it consistently because sometimes our schedule is a little crazy, but when we do, we'll work together on it. He'll grill the meats and I cook all the side dishes. And, we'll make enough food to last for the family until Thursday. That usually gets us from Sunday to Wednesday or Thursday. And there's enough variety that everybody can kind of pick and choose what they want. Because sometimes, life happens. You don't always have time to cook every night, And so that's one way to work around it. But, how can you strengthen your communication when it comes to buying food, when it comes to fixing lunch? Because a lot of people eat out for lunch every day. How much is your lunch average? About $8?
$10.
$10. So, $10 a day on lunch, $50 a week,
It's
$200
reasonable.
a month. What? No, it's not. No. Maybe $7 or $8 is reasonable, but 10, even if you're going to eat out for lunch, do you have to eat out for lunch every day? That's what I want to know. Do you know, really? Because I'm sure some of y'all are dealing with that with your spouse. Do you have to eat out for lunch every day? That's really not necessary. So can you cut back and be able to redirect those funds to something more important? Sometimes people are like, well, I really wish we could travel as a family, but we really couldn't. I bet you could if you would cut back on some of this other foolishness. If you really take inventory. You should write the grocery list together, set a budget, and stick to it. That's really the bottom line. Now, again, a lot of things are common sense, but we're not always thinking about it. Sometimes we just need a refresher. Amen. Now, cable TV. I know I'm on the men's part of town now on cable television. My question is, do you have to have all the channels? Do you have to have all the channels?
Yes.
Yeah. I just, you can only watch one at a time. That's all I'm trying to say. You can only watch one channel at a time.
Not in my man cave.
You have to have all the channels, Let me check in the chat room, see if any men commenting on this section here. Let me see. Oh, well, Yvonne did comment, going back to the groceries. Jonathan is good at meal prep, and she's terrible with it. Now, that's interesting. So, again, sometimes it's the men, sometimes it's the women, but the bottom line is being able to work together. But about this cable TV, though, really, I mean, we got all the channels. We ain't even home half the time to watch TV. But yet and still, Verizon, Comcast, Xfinity, all of them are making a killing off of us right now. They're our bill. I think we had the combo. That's how they get you. They want you to do TV,
internet and television.
Right, TV, internet, and phone. They want you to do the whole combo, and they're charging like $180 and up per month, depending on whether you're adding HBO and all these other things. So at $180, if we just round it up to $200 for easy number's sake, $200 a month, $2,400 a year, just under, let's say $2,000 a year, people are giving away to Verizon and Xfinity and AT&T and whoever to watch TV and be on the internet. That's a lot of money, don't y'all think? So we were paying that. We were, until we had to, really take a look at it and say, can we cut back in this particular area? So now we've switched to Roku, and some of you might already be familiar with it if you've already made the switch yourself. And, it's definitely saving us money. Now, at first, Comcast tried to tell us, well, it's cheaper, if you only want the internet, then you're going to have to pay all this extra money and whatnot. They were going to charge me $90 a month just for the internet. So I was like, well, I might have to go somewhere else. And the next thing you know, they were like, well, we got a special going on. And so we ended up to where we're only paying $60 a month to Verizon. I'm sorry, not Comcast, Verizon. We pay $60 a month.
Because you can kind of pin the companies against each other. Right. And so one will say, well, I'll charge you $150. The other one will say, well, I could beat that. And then you can get that one to say, I could beat it at $140. And then you can go back to the other one and say, I can get $140 over here. What can you do for me? Right. And they might drop it down to $130. So now you're saving $20 just. Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. So he was talking about bartering one company to another. So now we switched to Roku. I was able to reduce our Verizon bill to $60 a month for the internet alone. And for those that are new to Roku, if you haven't made the switch yet and you're still paying $180 a month, Roku we pay $50, I believe. I believe we pay $50 a month for the Roku, and we still get just about all the channels. No, it's $50. It's like $49.99. But we still get all of the channels that we, all the shows and whatnot that we were watching before. You got your ESPN and your,
except for the local shows.
Right. Yep, exactly. But we weren't really watching the local channels anyway. But can you explain just in brief about the Roku for anybody that's new to Roku and don't exactly know how all of that works?
So you pay a one-time fee to purchase the Roku unit, the stick, or the USB stick, or the device.
They probably have it at Walmart, but we bought ours at Best Buy.
Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon. You could also purchase the Fire Stick if that's your choice. Apple TV is out, so you can purchase that as well. They all perform the same function of connecting you to the internet for TV service.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can buy different packages either through Sling, through Hulu. YouTube TV has multiple channels as well. Amazon TV. Once you purchase your packages, you can purchase a package in small amounts. For instance, their lowest package deal might be $5.99, and you might only get a few channels, but they may just be the channels that you watch. Excuse me. You could also purchase a sports package. That might be $20, but it will also include some of the other channels that your spouse may watch as well. And then you also have your HBO services. You can also purchase NBC Sports or NBC, ABC, CBS, all within their own packages. And it kind of, I want to say the biggest thing that it does is that it brings down the total cost from $200 for cable or Verizon if you're using that. You go from $200 down to what we're paying is somewhere around $70, if I'm correct, total?
No, it's $50.
$50 total. And the unit was a one-time fee, whereas with the cable services or even DirecTV or satellite, you're paying for the equipment and the cable service.
Right.
So this is a one-time equipment fee, and then the service itself, which you can tailor to what you want to watch. If you like Game of Thrones and it's only on HBO, well, guess what? You can just purchase an HBO package. If you like sports, of course, I've said you can purchase a sports package, and you'll get extra sports packages. You never know. You'll be able to watch sports all over the world, like I do. That's my thing.
You about to get caught. You about to go in on this sports thing. Let me shift gears right now before you get started. So that's good. So if you haven't, considered switching, so that it'll definitely save you some money. Like I said, we were paying about $180 before, and now we pay $60 for Verizon and $50 for Roku, so $110. So we save $70. That's still I can do a lot with $70. We can do some stuff with that. That's right, absolutely. So the next thing, date night. Now, for some, I've noticed with some couples that I've met with, that for some people it's non-existent. Like, what happened to date night? It like disappeared. And there's varying reasons on why some people aren't doing date night. For some people, it's they don't have time. They have the excuse of they have to work or they don't have time. When the reality is, it's not. I agree. But they don't make date night a priority. Now, for some, it's been the money. We can't really afford to have a date night. Again, that's an excuse, because I'm going to share some things with you that basically validate that you don't have to have money necessarily in order to have a date night. You can have a date night at home, So I want to share this quick survey of 10 ways to practice non-sexual intimacy with your partner. And you can use some of these things for a date night, in times, well, it doesn't have to be just because your money's tight. It could be when you have plenty of money and you just want to do something different. Now, for us, when we do our dates, and this is something I always like to share when I'm talking to couples, we like to take turns with the date, meaning we take turns on who plans the date. So if we're going to go out, Friday, and it's his turn, I'll use me. If it's my turn to plan the date, I'm not telling him anything other than be ready at 7 o'clock and make sure that you're dressed, the attire is whatever, you can wear jeans or whatever. And so I'm planning the entire date, and I'm not telling him anything. So maybe we're still going to movies and a dinner, but maybe I'm not going in the area where I live. Maybe I decide to pick a different movie theater in a different city, just to switch it up and do something different and just to throw him off. But what it does is makes for a romantic time in the relationship, because it builds anticipation. It makes it romantic because, he'll be in the car like, well, where are we going? Where are we going? Wouldn't you like to know? He's like really wanting to know where are we going? So I've even taken him somewhere blindfolded before, but it just keeps the spice going, when, like I said, we've been married almost 25 years. So you got to keep it fresh. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it fresh. And so that's one thing that I've seen even with couples who have only been married even 10 years, you have to make the time and not allow your relationship to die down by not adding in a date night. You have to factor that into your budget. That's a must-have to relationship being able to sustain itself. So on these 10 things, 10 ways to practice non-sexual intimacy with your partner. Take showers together and washing each other's back. Now, some of this as I read, some of y'all might already be doing some of this stuff, but you know, again, I know for a fact it's not everybody because, again, I meet with couples and I find out, you know, what's going on. And so, even though that's something that you could do anytime, if you haven't been doing it on a regular basis, that's something that you can create into a romantic date night. Make some candlelights and, you know, hey, we're going to go take a bath together. Bam, you got a date night just like that. Number 2, sharing intimate silence while making eye contact. Well, now that's interesting. Intimate silence while making eye contact. I don't know about that being a date necessarily, but, you know, I guess I can see that being intimacy. Number 3, giving each other massages with oils and intention. Okay, yeah, I like number 3. I think we practiced that. Number 4, creating a playlist together. That's a good one. You know, creating the music, set up the atmosphere, you know, things we all did when we were dating that you still need to be doing right now. Number 5, I don't agree with. It says listening to music while smoking a joint. You know, well, no judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone. Number 6, grocery shopping and cooking together. Now, I will say, I don't really want him going to the grocery store with me necessarily because then he adds to the bill, you know. But I do like the idea of us cooking together because that's not something we do all the time. So if we were going to the store and we had said, okay, tonight we're going to plan to cook this romantic meal and we're working together in the kitchen, you know, then that's calls for, you know, touching and feeling while you're cooking in the kitchen and make it a great thing. So again, these are ways to create a date night when money is tight and you're trying to, you know, figure out, not allow that to be the excuse that, you know, you still want to be able to go out. Number 7, cuddling and pillow talking about any and everything. That's cool too. You can chill and watch a movie. Number 8, conversations about goals and dreams. And number 9, sharing music with one another. And number 10, I don't know about this as a date night, but having a good belly laugh together. And I thought that was quite interesting.
A comedy show would be a good one for that.
Yes, comedy show. Yes, that's definitely a good one. But definitely, you know, like I said, you need to incorporate the date night. You know, that one I'll probably be singing that song a long time because a lot of couples, you know, tend to forget about that, especially when they start having kids. The kids become the first priority. But at the end of the day, when the kids are gone, it's still going to be you and him. Or so you hope. So you better be nurturing that thing all along. Now, moving on past date night, how about soap? You know, can you save money by coming together on the same types of soap? Now, you see,
that's hard.
Now, that's when we had to just compromise and agree that, you know, he has a certain type of soap that he likes to use, and I have a certain type of soap I have to use. So from that standpoint,
I like to enjoy a good body wash.
We came together on the toothpaste. Now, the soap, we still gonna have to have our own separate soap. But, you know, again, these are things to kind of get you going with your dialogue between you and your spouse to figure out, hey, what can we, of the things that we spend money on, where can we trim back and cut some money to redirect into something more important. Number 10, decisions about children. Now, this one can be difficult at times. Number 1, as a parent, when you are making decisions about things that are going to happen with your children, you need to always have a united front. So even if you're in disagreement, you need to be in agreement in public to your children. And so when you're having to make the hard decisions, like when it comes to their sports and when it comes to their activities, or even with daycare choices, you know, you have to find the level to be able to compromise. And sometimes coming to that decision of compromising, you have to do some research in order to figure out what the compromise should be. So for example, you know, maybe you have a parent that wants to put their child in this particular type of daycare because they have all of these extra things going on, and maybe your spouse is like, we don't need all of that. We can go over here to the $1,000 a month daycare in Sally's home. We don't have to go into the commercial daycare that's $2,000 a month. And that's where you all have to come to a meeting of the minds and say, okay, well, you know, we're talking about an extra $500 or extra $1,000 a month. Do we need to do that right now? Is that the most important thing? Is our child still going to have quality daycare if we send them over here? You know, so it gets difficult when you're having to make decisions. One of the hard decisions we've had to make over the last year with one of our sons was about sports and grades. You know, from my standpoint, if you're playing sports is a privilege, you know, so if you're not making the grades that you're supposed to make, then we have to start subtracting because we pay money for you to enjoy these sports. And so that has sometimes been difficult for us because my husband is passionate about the sports, and as most fathers are, you know, and you want your child to be able to thrive and do and advance, and I do too, you know, but we had to make some hard decisions about, you know.
It wasn't that hard.
Okay. Well, I felt like it was hard because we had a lot of discussion around it. But, okay, well, maybe he's saying it's not as hard as it was. But, you know, there are times, obviously, I'm sure you guys get that there are times where you do have to make difficult decisions when it comes to your children. And being able to find that middle ground or compromise, at the end of the day, how does it affect our budget? And how does it affect our overall goals of what we're looking to accomplish? You know, are we trying to buy a house next year? Well, maybe we need to pull back a little bit when it comes to the sports. Maybe they can't do 3 sports. You know, some people are doing a different sport in the fall, the winter, and the spring, and that type of thing. Or they're in dance this, dance that. You know, so you really have to evaluate and decide what's most important. The next thing is hair. I only got 2 minutes left. Oh, let me hurry up. Hair, ladies, I'm on you now with the hair, because men, you know, men spend $20, $25 on a haircut. But ladies, you know, ladies are sometimes spending $200 and $300 on hair, sometimes $400 or $500 on wigs. Somebody help me, please. You know, that's okay if you got it like that and you don't have debt that you need to pay off and your retirement is secure. But if those factors are not all taken care of, then you need to evaluate. I want to look good, but, you know, how much I need to have a limit. You know what I mean? I can't just spend the way I want to spend and spend $500 on wigs and weaves and $200 and $300 on braids all the time. So, again, things for you to think about. Number 12 is shopping. Gadgets, toys, clothes, jewelry. Women, especially when it comes to the shopping, tend to have difficulty with staying out of the stores. Now, I like to shop. I'm guilty of clearance rack shopping. So my way of controlling myself is not to go to the store, because I already know if I go to the store and I see stuff on clearance, I'm going to feel like I need to have it. So, anyway, when it comes to shopping, you do need to evaluate your gadgets, your toys, gadgets for guys anyway, clothes, etc. Number 13, debt consolidation loans and refinancing. Now that I'm definitely going to elaborate on in another show. I'm going to talk about it in a whole lot more detail, and we'll have some special guests on the show to really talk about when you're getting out of debt. Is it a good idea to do a debt consolidation loan? Is it a good idea to do a refinance? And so those are going to be some other things coming up. Really, in short, though, the bottom line is if you're considering a debt consolidation loan or refinancing to get rid of debt, it's not going to fix you permanently if you don't fix your stinking thinking. If you don't fix your money habits that got you there, then you're still going to you have a possibility of winding back up in debt again. And then lastly, you need to prioritize your goals as a couple. What are the most important things right now? And let that be your center focus for how you handle and manage the rest of your year and your activities, to come back to that center focus. What do we want to accomplish as a couple this year? What's important? We need to get out of debt. We need to buy a house. We need to, whatever it is that we need to do. So, unfortunately, I'm out of time, and I'm having such a good time. I want to thank my husband for hanging out with me today. I appreciate that he was available to hang out with me in the good old New Orleans. We're about to go and do some hanging out for the rest of the day. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you like and share the show. We will be back next week with some topics around how to save money as a family. All right, so go out and have a blessed day. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Finish on the bottom right.